Welcome to Metabolic Matters Podcast, where we embark on conversations with thought leaders, disruptors, change agents, and passionate souls. Together, we'll delve into what truly matters to them. And you'll learn how to metabolize this newfound wisdom so you can transform your own metabolic health. Now let's meet today's guest. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to a remarkable individual whose brilliance transcends the boundaries of conventional thought and inspires us to embark on a transformative journey of self-discovery. Meet Brian Johnson. Brian is the visionary behind Optimize Me, Philosopher's Notes, the Heroic Platform, and his upcoming book, Arete. He's a modern-day philosopher, truth seeker, and masterful teacher on the art of mastering oneself. In a world that is filled with so much noise and distractions, Brian Johnson stands as a guiding light, illuminating the path to a higher level of human existence. His unique blend of wisdom, passion, and his intellectual curiosity has earned him a reputation as a true modern-day philosopher. But Brian's pursuit of truth goes far beyond the realm of academia. It exists to the very core of our existence as human beings. Brian's brilliance as a human is unmistakable. His genuine commitment to personal growth and self-improvement has touched the lives of thousands and thousands and thousands, if not millions of individuals, inspiring them to lead more purposeful and fulfilling lives. Through his various ventures, he has crafted a space where seekers of truth and wisdom can gather to explore the profound dimensions of our collective human potential. As a visionary, Brian Johnson has not only identified the pressing need for a profound shift in our collective consciousness, but has also created the tools and resources to facilitate this transformation. His innovative platforms, such as Philosopher's Notes, distill the wisdom of timeless philosophical and self-help classics into bite-sized, actionable insights, making profound knowledge accessible to all. But Brian's not content with just disseminating his wisdom. He's also a passionate advocate for the hero and the arete, or the excellence within each of us. He challenges us to embark on our own hero's journey, to summon the courage to confront our own inner dragons, and to rise to our own highest potential. Brian's teachings serve as a beacon of hope and empowerment, reminding us that the power to transform our lives lives within ourselves. In the following exploration and conversation of Brian's remarkable work and insights, we will delve deeper into the mind of this modern-day philosopher, truth seeker, and teacher. We will uncover the profound wisdom that he imparts, and we will discover how, through his vision and guidance, we can all learn to master ourselves and unlock the boundless potential that resides within each of us. Brian Johnson is not just a name. He is a catalyst for personal and collective transformation, a torchbearer for those on the quest for truth and self-mastery. We are so grateful for the support from the Hyperthermia Cancer Institute. At HCI, they understand the struggle and fear that comes with a cancer diagnosis, but they also believe in offering hope and cutting-edge therapy to their patients. Imagine a treatment that not only statistically increases the success rate of other cancer therapies, but also comes with virtually no side effects. Hyperthermia does just that. It's a beacon of hope for those navigating the arduous journey of cancer treatment. Studies have shown that hyperthermia stimulates the immune system, giving your body an additional ally in the fight against cancer, helping you to regain health, vitality, and peace of mind. Located in the heart of Los Angeles, the Hyperthermia Cancer Institute specializes in the administration of non-invasive, localized hyperthermia therapy using FDA-approved advanced ultrasound technology. This innovative treatment targets cancer cells with precision, delivering heat that enhances the effectiveness of both radiation therapy and chemotherapy. At the Hyperthermia Cancer Institute, you're not just a patient. You're a valued individual deserving the utmost advanced and compassionate care available. Join the many who have turned a fearful diagnosis into a story of survival and hope. Discover the difference that hyperthermia therapy can make in your cancer treatment journey. Visit the Hyperthermia Cancer Institute online at hcioncology.com, hcioncology.com, or call 888-580-5900 to schedule a consultation. And Brian Johnson, the famous or infamous, but more famous. It is an absolute honor to have you be a guest on this green machine, very green in the podcasting world. But you and I have had lots of conversations over the years, and I feel like this is just another extension of that. And I'm really grateful for you being present with me, with my tribe, and sharing this with your tribe. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Nasha, I got tears in my eyes just feeling into your presence right before we came on, and I love you. I appreciate you. You've played such a big role in our lives with my brother, as we've discussed and may discuss today, and you're a special human being. So I feel blessed to be here with you today. Look, I'm already emotional. Let's go.
So I have my Kleenex close by this time because I'm crying when I'm on with you, and they're all absolute tears of joy, of gratitude, of truth. And so I feel like that's what you evoke in me and in so many others. And so, people have already heard my beautiful introduction about you, but I still feel that we'll get a few people going, okay, now, whether you know Brian or not, whether you know his history or not, a lot of people might wonder, what does a metabolic healthcare provider and a philosopher have to talk about? What is the common bridge here? And I have a few of my thoughts on this, but I want you to express yours. But before I let you express yours, because my training in Chinese medicine, when I look at you, what I understand from my Chinese medicine training is you are like the small intestine. I was like,
Can I stick out my tongue right now, Nasha?
I want so many people are probably like, what? If they were falling asleep now, hopefully they're awake. But ultimately, in Chinese medicine, the role of the organ system, the small intestine, is about separating the turbid from the clear. Okay. We might know that in Western medicine or in like Western ethos of separating the wheat from the chaff, or separating out all of the background noise to distill down to the truth. And so for me, you are my living, walking small intestine meridian of helping us move through the volumes of information. And for me, metabolism is just that. It's taking in enormous amounts of energy, of input, deciding what stays and what goes, and optimizing what you do hold on to. So to me, it's a really obvious bridge, maybe not to others, but I know you would have a lot more to add to this conversation. Mr. Small Intestine.
Yeah, well, I'm blessed to be your small intestine. Let's go there first and foremost. That is awesome. Alexandra will particularly enjoy that. Oh, bless you. Of course, I've spent, the better part of the last 25 years distilling ancient wisdom and modern science. And, the idea of being a philosopher for me is grounded in the ancient etymology of the word. So a philosopher, philo, Sophia. Philo is one of the three Greek words for love. It's philanthropy, it's a friendship type of love. But in this case, Sophia is wisdom. So a philosopher is a lover of wisdom. So my passion is, like yours and everyone who is here with us today, to understand how to live optimally and then to help others do the same. So that's why I refer to myself as a philosopher in that sense, and then, a teacher and an entrepreneur, etc. But at the essence of my work is metabolic function. I mean, it's energy. It's what we talked about as we before we came on today. If you looked at ancient wisdom and modern science in particular, and you said, hey, what's the ultimate purpose of life? Every great teacher would tell you it is to flourish, to express the best version of yourself. And then modern science has identified the virtues that are most highly correlated with your flourishing. So they include things like you'd expect, gratitude, hope, curiosity, love. Those things have been proven to be most highly correlated with our well-being and flourishing. What's less obvious is the number one virtue, literally the number one virtue most highly correlated with our well-being and flourishing is an awkward word for energy, zest. So it's metabolic function. So if you want to thrive as a human being, then you must prioritize the health of your metabolic function. Full stop. And so we like to talk about the big three. That a good life comes down to, as Freud said, one of the few times I agree with him, that a good life comes down to work and love. But if your energy isn't where it needs to be, you won't show up powerfully in your work or love. And if your energy isn't where it could be because of poor lifestyle choices, is how I usually like to preface it. We all have idiosyncratic constraints, but that's my entire life's work, is to help people optimize their energy so they can show up powerfully in their work and love, so that we can activate our heroic potential and make a difference in the world. And it's why I love you so much. What you've done and who you are and how you are such a radiant exemplar of the possible, and have so generously given your wisdom and your life's work to us, is why I'm such a big fan of you and an advocate for you and your work. And why it's an honor to be with you here today. But that's my now long answer to your short question, and how I see philosophy and your work coming together. Couldn't be any more coherent in my mind.
I love this. I love it. I'm so excited that you referenced that. I don't think I understood that piece of you surprised me with the zest energy piece. I know it's part of your big trifecta, but you just made the most obvious connection between metabolism of life to metabolism of the things that we ingest around that. So gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous piece here. And where did you gain your own clarity among all the noise? Because there's a lot of noise. I want folks to have a little sense of how.
What was the word you used for the thing that preceded clarity? What was the word you used?
Just where did you?
In small intestine. No, but in the small intestine metaphor, what was the word that preceded?
Turbid. From
turbid. So this is where I got my clarity, was from nearly catastrophic despair. So I grew up in a family. My dad worked really, really hard. He also struggled with alcohol. His father struggled with alcohol and ended his own life. And I like to playfully say I lost what appears to be both the environmental and genetic lottery. And I struggled. First generation college student, dropped out of law school, knew I didn't want to do that. And the only thing I knew I wanted to do when I wasn't coaching a Little League baseball team was figure out how to end my own life. So this is, thankfully 25 plus years in the rear view mirror now. But that pain, that, lack of clarity is what spurred me on to figure out, what do I need to do in order to live a life of deep meaning and sustainable joy? And that's the core of all of my work. And what I hope has given me a level of sensitivity and attunement and compassion for people wherever they are on the spectrum. And we've been blessed to serve people at the highest levels of, corporate, military, sports worlds, and people who have a tough time getting out of bed and want to end their lives. And it's been a blessing for me to be able to share my own journey and experiences, and hopefully add some wisdom to help people, practice these ideals and create that life of deep grounded meaning. But then I'll come back to the energy. The thing that I didn't do then was eat, move, sleep, breathe, focus my attention, which is why I obsess about it. We call it dominating the fundamentals. Those basic fundamentals are the cornerstones, of course, and you and your audience are, you are among those who have taught me the most on this subject. But it's easy to take it for granted. And it's what we, teach our coaches and our community relentlessly. Get clarity on who you are at your best. Do those basic things over and over again.
Wow. It seems like some of the people who are my most meaningful mentors, teachers, and my own personal experience, it seems like we've had to evolve from, the pain to passion. Does it have to be that way?
I think it's yes and. I look at I was just talking to my coach, Phil Stutz, who's back there on the wall. Emerson came in, who's right next to him. So I kind of got the family line here, right? I got my wife, Alexandra, my daughter, Eleanor, and then my son, Emerson, and then my spiritual father, his spiritual grandfather, Phil Stutz. So Emerson came in during my coaching session with Phil that I had, right before we started our chat.
Wow.
Calls him Grandpa Phil, and we're talking. And I was talking about how it took me 45 years, and now 49, right? It took me 45 years to get decent at these ideas of, oh, okay, cool. Let me rewind and deal with all the stuff that I had accumulated in the first X decades. And I look at him, 10 years old, turning 11 in a couple weeks. And it's a beautiful thing to see that you know, obviously you can't bypass all suffering you don't want to. That's an important part of our life journey. But can we create a foundation for our next generation such that this wisdom becomes their normative behavior, and his growth mindset, his, you know, eating, moving, sleeping, he's proud of his healthy behavior choices. He's an iconoclast. You know, we were worried about that. Not eating cake. Well, why would he want to eat cake? He doesn't like to get sick. He's never taken an antibiotic. He doesn't like getting sick, and he gets a little runny nose. But making it cool to practice these ideas and to create a new cultural norm has been really important for us. And again, a long answer to your short question, but yes, and I think for all mortal human beings, yeah, unfortunately. And then the people I respect the most, almost all of them, are the ones who have suffered the most and have figured out how to integrate that. And it's what I challenge our coaches on too, is whatever your greatest weakness is. Mine was psychological. It wasn't physical per se, in the, you know, struggling with weight or a chronic disease. But whatever it is your ultimate opportunity to give a gift. And we just need to go there. You know, that's your hero's journey. That's our dragon that we've got to idiosyncratically slay / tame / learn how to ride. But that's your gift. And again, you are, Goosebumps, tied for first as the most beautiful, radiant example of that truth. Being told what you were told as a young woman, and to have done what you've done, and to be who you are, it's the perfect demonstration of that. I expressed my own equivalent in my psychological struggles. And for us to, as Paulo Coelho says, bear our scars like medals. We're not ashamed of them. And we talked about this when I did an interview with you recently. And you shared so candidly your own struggles, which was so moving for our community. We're not ashamed of this. Life's challenging. It's always been challenging. And in the 21st century, it's even more so. No. Heroes unite. By definition, a hero fights dragons. By definition, when you fight dragons, you may get dragon, you know, claw scars, lose a limb. Perfect. Let's go. What did we learn, and what can we give back to the world, right?
Wow. And thank you for that. And thank you for helping me also, really, because I always wonder, like, why do we have to go through so much pain to have these epiphanies? And I love hearing the next generations and the opportunities and the potential that you and Heroic in all of your endeavors are doing to create a beautiful new foundation for folks. We can normalize optimization from the get-go. And I think that that's something that I think will wake up a few folks as well. It's like, you don't have to wait for the pain to have your purpose. You know, it can be so different. And we'll get to that in a moment, because even in the beautiful sort of first chapter of my little sneak peek chapter of your book that's coming out in November, which we'll talk about here in a moment, you have this really beautiful moment with your son on this walk when he, like, first of all, I want to meet your children so much, because I want to see what you and Alexander created. Like, what did you guys make in this thing, to know how, like, the deep curiosity of your children is evident in every story you've ever shared with me. And the opening chapter, you talk about this really nice walk you do with your son right before a chess match. Can you tell us a little bit about how that transpired? Because I think this is such an example of creating a new narrative with regards to facing failure.
Yep. Yeah. So thank you again for all those kind words. And I cannot wait for the kids to meet you and to have that connection. So to set some context, the book is called arete, which is an ancient Greek word that we directly translate as excellence or virtue, but it has a deeper meaning, something closer to expressing the best version of yourself, moment to moment to moment. And it's the one word answer that Aristotle gives in a different chapter on how to live with happiness. Eudaimonia is the ancient Greek word, which is the summum bonum of life. According to Aristotle, the greatest good, the highest good, is to live with eudaimonia. Etymologically, that word means eudaimon, good soul. We translate it weakly into English as happiness, but it means something closer to flourishing, to give everything you have to the world in service to something bigger than yourself. Now, the way you live with eudaimonia, I tattooed to my body and named the book in the one-word summation of my philosophy, which is his one-word answer on how you live with eudaimonia and flourish, which is to live with arete. So it's a complex idea that as a small intestine, I wanted to distill in a simple way for the reader of the book, right? And so I'm finishing the book and I've got, all the book's done, basically. I just now need to really polish the intro to make it as seamless as possible to present this, somewhat complex idea. And as it turns out, I woke up on a Saturday morning and I cut my normal kind of routine short to take my son Emerson, who's really into chess, to a chess tournament. And his vision is, he just loves chess. We homeschool him and he just fell in love with it. And we waited for 10 years for him to show us what he was passionate about. Wow. So he got into chess and it was one of those like, there it is. Do everything you can to support his passion. So we got him onto this website, chesskid.com, which is amazing. He fell in love with it. Oh, I'll get you a coach. You want a coach? Oh, okay, I'll take you to tournaments. So it became a part of our parenting. And briefly, the word parent means to bring forth.
Wow.
So it's a flourishing is almost a gardening term. So as a parent, we want to help our kids flourish. So we were looking for the context through which we could help him flourish. So chess became it. So anyway, he won the Texas State Championship for his division. He's really flourished and he's really worked hard. But he's got this tournament on a Saturday. So I come out in the morning and I'm excited. I love these days. It's a full day or a weekend and we just have a great time. And I'm like, hey, buddy, awesome. We got the tournament today, And he's like, wilted flower posture. Meh, I don't want to go. What do you mean you don't want to go, buddy? And he's just, I just don't want to go. I'm like, all right, well, how about we go on a walk and we talk about it? So we got this little property here out in the country near Austin, and we got a little trail on it, And so I go out for a walk with him. Let's go on a walk. So I go out for a walk with him, and mommy comes out with our daughter, who's a few years younger, and says, hey, talk to him about the fact that he doesn't want to lose. Because he doesn't want to go because he doesn't want to lose. And I say to myself, oh, okay, we'll definitely talk about that. So anyway, we go on this walk, and I use that walk as a context to teach him the idea of arete, and by extension, present the idea of arete. And the basic idea was that he had a voice in his head that we all have that was telling him that he didn't want to do something that he really wanted to do. And that part of life is to understand that voice that his God grandfather Phil Stutz calls part X is always there, and it's in all of our heads, but you got to know when it's barking at you, and then you got to remind yourself of what you really want in life. So I used his commitment to be a chess grandmaster, which is his ambition, to frame up whether or not going to the tournament was the wisest voice in his head guiding him, or the little part X whiny voice in his head that was guiding him. And it wound up being something I'm really proud of, because it was an opportunity to introduce, my community and our readers to my family and to this idea. And it was a really sacred chance to share the nonstop conversations we have with our kids and hopefully inspire the reader and their families to see the truth in Aristotle's perspective and the other ways that we frame it up.
I love it. It was such a good example of how, because a lot of the folks in our community, they themselves are parents, or they're helping people who are parents. And everyone's sort of like, well, I have to eat this way because I'm sick now, but I don't want to challenge my children. Like, I don't want it to be hard on my kids. And it's such a weird disconnect for us to realize that you don't understand that when you change your diet up, when you optimize your metabolic health, and you do so as a family, all ships will rise together. And so I love this story that of weaving Emerson into the conversation, is that you're showing in real time how to do this with our younger generations, that this is not about wait till they get sick and then do something about it. It's about optimizing all aspects, mind, body, spirit, socio, status, everything. You hit it so beautifully. So I really want people to dive into that first chapter. I will read that and reread that again, because frankly, it was what I needed to read as well. Big and little kids alike need to be reminded of that place of what is that X voice, what is truth, in this moment. And so you've brought up a few times, and I know who this person is, but a lot of other people may not, but the godfather, the grandfather, the father, Phil Stutz, which everyone knows him as sort of the shrink to the stars. And his newest documentary, I think Jonas Hill did a little documentary about his experience with him, which is fascinating, by the way. And I know that he has been a long-term friend and mentor. And the foreword he does for your book, talk about goosebumps. First of all, I had no idea. I mean, I knew you guys had a relationship, but I did not know that you are blood. I mean, really, it's so powerful how deep your connection with him goes. But I really love two things. Little quick diversion, because this surprised me when he said his favorite teacher is Rudolf Steiner. I was like, wait, what? Because of course, that's somebody big in my world, in the anthroposophical medicine world, the mistletoe world. Suddenly my brain did wait a minute, I got to learn more about this. So we can table that and come back to that in a moment if it's appropriate or if it weaves in, because talk about someone who sees the intricacies and the interrelationship of nature, nurture, and all of the things. I was really blown away with that, which just made me love this man even more, even though I don't ever have connection. But he talks about your gifts.
Now, I would love to introduce you to one of our sponsors, Hyperbaric Medical Solutions. They are the leading provider of hyperbaric oxygen therapy in the United States, dedicated to helping patients achieve optimal health by bringing the revolutionary healing powers of HBOT. At the helm is Dr. Alan Katz, a distinguished professional with double board certifications in emergency and hyperbaric medicine. With over 3 decades in both fields, his leadership ensures that patients receive nothing short of excellence. Hyperbaric Medical Solutions specializes in the delivery of hyperbaric oxygen therapy, integrating other regenerative medicine and innovative services to fulfill its mission to enhance patients' quality of life and well-being through personalized care plans. Do you want to see if hyperbaric oxygen therapy is right for you? Take advantage of a free 15-minute information session with one of their experienced clinicians. Visit hmshbot.com. This episode is brought to you by Keto Mojo. If you're on a ketogenic or low-carb, high-fat diet, you will want to measure your ketones and blood sugar to ensure you're staying on track. And that's exactly where Keto Mojo glucose and ketone meter comes in. The Keto Mojo meter empowers you to take control of your health. It takes the guesswork out of being in ketosis. It provides fast and accurate readings, helping you to fine-tune and ensure you're getting the results you're aiming for. Ketosis aids in the treatment of cancer, diabetes, and other chronic metabolic diseases, while also providing the metabolic adaptability needed for a healthier life. When it comes to metabolic health, always test, assess, and address. Never guess, and ensure you're making the right choices for your health and well-being with the reliable Keto Mojo blood glucose and ketone meter. Keto Mojo is giving listeners a 15% discount on blood glucose and ketone meter kits using the code NASHA15. That's NASHA 15. Visit keto-mojo.com, keto-mojo.com, and take the first step toward taking control of your ketogenic diet and your health. Don't guess, test with the Keto Mojo meter.
So as your friend, mentor, father figure, Phil Stutz, in the foreword of your book, which I cannot wait to tell you guys a little bit more about here in a moment, he, and I'm paraphrasing, states that you have a gift for uncovering our collective potential to ultimately save the world. Wow. I mean, who gets a compliment like that? Who gets a shout out like that? You've alluded to the darkness that led to the light for your being, but that's beyond. Like, that is the discipline. That is what your book ultimately teaches others how to do. Can you talk about your experiences with Phil Stutz? Tell a little bit of, to the listeners about who is this interesting, good old Rudolf Steiner loving individual, and how did he influence your journey into getting your stage of sharing this wisdom with the world?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to celebrate Phil. It gets me emotional again. Phil's just a blessed human being. I first read his book, The Tools, maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whenever it came out. A friend of mine, Trip Lanier, No, so I got it. I sent it to Trip. He interviewed them. Then he connected me to Phil and Barry. And so the tools, and then another book called Coming Alive. And Phil, as he says in the foreword, and as you know, if you've watched the Netflix documentary called Stutz, in which Jonah Hill, another one of his longtime clients, whose life was positively affected by Phil, does a documentary and basically just an homage to Phil and their work together. And it's a beautiful film in which Phil shares his iconoclastic take on, he's an MD psychiatrist, how to change our lives. If you don't mind F-bombs, you'll love it. If you do, then put a filter on it, and I think you'll love it. But Phil and I connected, and we had our first session, over 7 years ago. And I have now worked with him over 400 times. So every single week for 7 years, we did 2 sessions a week for 2 years. And it's hard to put into words the impact that he's had on me, but it's profound. And again, I've read very broadly and deeply, and I've studied as much as I could, ancient wisdom, modern science. But he and I had such a coherence from the beginning. And the greatest gift he gave me is a gift that I felt through you when you worked with my brother and our family, which is, well, I'll express it in my terms, but you do this. I know you did it for me and for our family, and I know you do it for countless people. But when I'm thinking about something and Phil and I talk about it and we get clarity, I don't need to think about it again. It's just done for me. And I think that a really wise and worthy coach can do that for someone. Then, of course, we need to trust ourselves. But there's something about that that's huge. And then perhaps the greatest gift is so Rudolf Steiner is the individual he comes back to the most. Phil is a very, very metaphysically spiritual guy who's also very, 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 very practical. And he works with some of the most elite in Hollywood, not just actors, but directors and producers and executives and everybody. And so Ray Dalio would say, you want to work with people who are believable, who have achieved a level of success more than once. If they've done it 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times, they're believable. You, Nasha, are as believable as they get, right? So Phil is believable. He has taken people from a level of literal greatness to an even higher level of sustainable greatness with joy. So it's been a sacred opportunity to work with him, and for him to see me and my potentiality, and to see what things I might need to and could and need to work on in order to achieve that. And the way he framed it up was, it's like a golfer who has a golf coach, and he just put his hand on my shoulder and just pushed it just a little bit to feel where I should be in the swing in a certain way. And I get goosebumps, I say that. And those subtle, tweaks aggregated and compounded over 400 sessions, over now almost 8 years, have just been a sacred gift. And one of my most profound commitments in life and deepest drives is to be worthy of that forward, to be worthy of the support that we've been blessed to receive from our community. And that just humbles me every day. And, today's the day one, get back to work. But yeah, I love him and happy to talk about any and everything you want to with him.
Oh my gosh. I love this. And it makes me think, as you've mentioned, the two of you having this conversation, you've mentioned it in several, I've listened to you talk this particular topic that I'm about ready to present multiple times over the years I've been following your work, which is this idea that only 0.001% of us will ultimately make a difference in the world. And hearing that, like I aspire to be that. And I know you're already doing that. And so many people that you have in your community are doing that. What differentiates those who can from those who can't?
Well, I would, maybe that my thinking has evolved on that, but I actually think that 99.99999% of us can. Yes. And again, there's the individuals that make the history books, which at the end of the day, whatever. Okay, cool. But the whole point of heroic, which is the tattoo on the other arm, is heroism is not, from my vantage point, reserved for the select few. Each of us has an opportunity to be heroic. And I lean into the ancient etymology. I'm obviously a nerd. I have not outgrown that. Yes, I have always been the class nerd. But the ancient Greeks, when they came up for the word for hero, didn't pick tough guy or killer of bad guys. The word hero in ancient Greece meant protector. So from my vantage point, every single one of us not only can be, but must be a hero, a protector of our kids, of our values, of things that we cherish in our world. And then the follow through on that is a hero has strength for two. And a hero does the hard work to forge that strength for two. And a hero's secret weapon as a protector is love. It's compassion. It's living for something bigger than ourselves. And then when we do that and we strive to live with arte and close the gap and be our best selves moment to moment to moment, we don't need to wait 10 or 20 years until we've done something, quote, heroic. In that moment in which we face the challenge of going through the cancer diagnosis process, experiencing it either as the one diagnosed or the one supporting someone. I mean, my sister-in-law, like both of them, my brother and my sister-in-law going through the process, unbelievable, and all the support that they had through the journey. But that's really important to me that it's maybe that history only sees the 0.001%, but 99.9999% of us can be that. And I would say must be that, at least those of us here answering the call, to use Joseph Campbell's frame in The Hero's Journey. And there's no other way we're going to meet what I see as historically significant challenges. And again, you all are hitting it from such an important angle with metabolic health and, of course, not just cancer, but all of the downstream chronic diseases that follow that. Then there's the political polarization, there's the socioeconomic disparity and the climate, all the things that each of us needs to step up and play our roles as humbly yet heroically well as we can. But again, who's more heroic, me or no one's heard of Alexandra per se, but my goodness, what she's done for our kids. No, she from literally day one through on is 10x more heroic than I am. Whether the world recognizes her or not is irrelevant. So each of us in our own way, I think, is called to activate our heroic potential. Full stop.
I love that you said, because I was a little bit hung up on that 0.001, and I really love to hear your pivot around this, because that is your gift, to recognize the potential. And I want you to talk. I mean, a lot of people have followed your work since you were Optimize Me and Philosopher's Notes, and it's just snowballed into this new platform, Heroic. I would love for you to tell us about this. Like, what classroom can we learn this in and support each other in and celebrate that potential in? Can you share about that?
So I sold a company called Zods to Gaiam, and it died a sad death, as many startups do, acquired by a publicly traded company. But I waited 15 years for someone to create a social platform that was a virtuous, conscious alternative to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. And literally 15 years. I'm like, come on, somebody do it. Let's go. On election night 2020, politics genuinely aside, we've been blessed to serve people at the highest levels of both the primary parties. I woke up in the middle of the night, and it was one of those, look, I got a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. We can do better. What are we doing here? And I don't know if you've seen The Social Dilemma with Tristan Harris, but that film I'm a technologist. I understand that. And I was blown away by the unintended catastrophic consequences of attention economics. So when a platform like Facebook or Instagram or whatever is built on mining your attention and selling it to the highest bidder, and the leadership is not as virtuous as it can be, things like the polarization we see politically and otherwise, and the self-harm, the anxiety, the suicide rates among next generation and girls and young women in particular is horrific. So on election night, literally like 2:43 in the morning, it was one of those moments of perfect. You've waited long enough. You're the one who's going to do your best. I get emotional right now, to create a social training platform that can use the absolute best of social and persuasive technology for the absolute highest good by bringing out the best in each individual we serve. And literally in that moment, Heroic Public Benefit Corporation was formed. It was one of those epiphanal moments. I've had a few of them in my life in which it wasn't a question, it was done. It's happening. I'm coming out of my hermitage. I'm done being just a philosopher. I'm going to come back, and we're going to see if we can create something that can change the world. 2 days later, I learned from an advisor of mine that the crowdfunding regulations were changing, as you know, from a max of $1 million that one could raise from investors, not Kickstarter, here's $20 or $100, but investors. And it was they were raising the limits, the SEC, from $1 million to $5 million. And it was another one of those epiphanal moments where I didn't think we would do it. I knew we would do it. We would be the first company to ever do it, make history. Let's go. Anyway, fast forward 6 weeks, I sent out an email to our community that we had been blessed to serve for years. And I said, this is our vision, what I just shared with you. We want to change the world by creating a social platform that can be an answer to the social dilemma. In 24 hours, we had expressed interest for $5 million. In 100 hours, we had 10 million. I get emotional when I share it. And to me, more than anything, it shows that the world is hungry for heroes. We want to see a more virtuous and a more noble world. We want to see each of us in our families and our communities flourishing. And of course, we feel blessed to have that much trust. But that's the essence of Heroic in the origin story. We hired the same company that built Slack, Tinder, and Uber Eats, and Elon Musk's Neuralink to build our app. We spent millions of dollars to build a social training platform with guides. And I've actually got it up here,
Well,
in which we help people move from theory to practice to mastery together. So we have social components that literally we're launching right as we're having this conversation. It's, imagine Facebook without all the toxicity, where you're connecting with people on these ideas, talking about how we can become better, where it's normal to do the optimal thing. You're no longer the weirdo. Wouldn't it be nice if we can connect where the shared values are implicit? But we also have practical tools to help people be their best selves day in and day out. We've done early research on that shows that if you use the app in a certain way to commit to being your best self and to do the things you know you could do, if you're like those who have done the study with us, you'll be 40% more energized, 20% more productive, and 15% more connected. Again, very long answer to your very short question, but that's Heroic. That's why I've tattooed my body with it, with the mission of creating a world in which 51% of humanity is flourishing by the year 2051, which was the same goal that Martin Seligman started the positive psychology movement in the year 2000. I thought it was crazy when I first heard of the goal. I still think it's crazy, but I've tattooed my body with that. And that's our all-in fierce commitment. Again, blessed to have your support in so many ways with our movement and with the Public Benefit Corporation. And I appreciate the opportunity to share it now. And I'm so excited to get you and your community in. When I look at the guides that I want to shine a bright light on, you're literally right there as this is what we need, is this platform or one like it that complements everything that you're doing to really help people connect and move forward together.
I love it. Brian, I've been accused, and I'm sure you have as well in your lifetime, of trying to boil the ocean. And for me, that's the only way we're going to make a difference. We have to aim so much bigger than what's been imagined to really make an impact. And what you have done with Heroic, it's been such a joy to watch every little stepping stone and your aha moment on that election night 2020 and the celebration of hitting that 5 million mark and the celebration, I've watched it just explode, and watching that shows me that I am absolutely capable of boiling the ocean, of changing healthcare as we know it, and cancer in particular. And so
I separate that. I'm going to playfully go back and forth on that. That isn't boiling the ocean. So boiling the ocean is impossible. So you can't boil the ocean, although the ocean is boiling in many ways. But just to playfully separate it, because I don't see what I'm doing as boiling the ocean. I see what I'm doing is I've created an incredibly audacious goal in which I specifically, concretely want to help 51% of humanity flourish. And the way I'm going to do it is by working with you and others around the world who are committed to making a difference. It's on one side of impossible or the other. Literally, I wake up and I'm like, dude, that's so hard. Even the pain we talked about with the next generation of kids, our kids are suffering more now than ever before. The research out on the levels of depression and lack of meaning today it's historically horrible. So we have more suffering than ever before. But I think it's important because boiling the ocean, to me, respectfully and playfully, is a pejorative term for someone that's trying to do too much. And perfect. One can see me that way, but I don't see you that way. I don't see me that way. I see more me and us more along the lines of someone who wants to do something that is incredibly difficult. But it's Gandhi comes to mind. So Gandhi's above my head right now. Churchill and Gandhi are right next to each other, and Mr. Rogers that you can't see off screen. But Gandhi, when Gandhi gave a talk once, he said that he wanted to free India without going to war. And someone came up to him who was a historian, respected historian, and said, Gandhi, come on, you're talking nonsense. That's never been done before. It's not possible. And Gandhi, being Gandhi, took a breath and smiled and said, you, sir, may want to study your history, because before something becomes possible, before it's been done, it's done for the first time. And that's what we intend to do. So here's to the crazy ones, the rebels, the misfits, the round pegs and the square holes. But it's us, those who are willing to dream. But very importantly, and this is what I'm humbled by in Phil's forward, we have to have relentless, ruthless discipline. So my commitment to the smallest thing, and by the way, this is what he emphasizes with Rudolf Steiner more than anything else, is that the spiritual, the divine, you meet it through the most mundane, and that everything is connected, and that every single moment of your life needs to be an expression of your commitment to something bigger than yourself. And to the extent you honor that commitment, which you do, by the way, in a single word, arete, by closing the gap, then you tap into the field, is what he calls it. And when you tap into the field, something happens. In ancient philosophy, in China, they say the same thing. Wu Wei, effortless right action, right? They say that the way that you experience that, Wu Wei, where you effortlessly do the right thing, which is another word for eudaimonia, the way you do that is you live with virtue. And when you do that, you have what they call moral charisma, and that people want to follow people who have this deep sense of integration. So Confucius, Lao Tzu studied and practiced this, and they had very different ways to approach it. But that's what they taught the ancient Chinese leaders, because they wanted to lead people powerfully. And the only way to do that is to cultivate a level of moral discipline. Gandhi had a word for that as well. He called it satyagraha. Satyagraha is a word we translate into English as nonviolent resistance, which is a horrible translation of the word that he coined. Satya and graha mean truth force.
Wow.
Or love force, or soul force. So he said that when we cultivate satyagraha within ourselves in a community, when we each have soul force, we can literally change the world. Martin Luther King Jr., who's often on my wall, quoted Gandhi and the phrase soul force in his I Have a Dream speech. It was how he said he would change the world. And so this is our seventh objective in the book. It's the seventh objective in our coach training. It's everything. Activate your superpower, which we call soul force. And you have it, Nasha. I mean, this is why it's so exciting for me to be with you. When you are in your presence, one can feel your commitment to your practices and to your ideals and to something bigger than yourself. And that moves people. And so my whole thing is each of us has that in our own idiosyncratic way. And what I've tried to do is systematically, formulaically help people move from theory to practice on these ideas. Again, got me fired up. But that's now an insanely long tangential answer. Oh, I went off on boiling the ocean. It's very important. It's very important for me.
Back. It's amazing. Keep going.
Yeah. That we honor the scope of our ambition with the humility to make today a great day, to make this moment the day in which we show up. And then ultimately we're willing to pay the price, and do the hard work to cultivate the strength, to make a difference. And the only way we can do it is together. At the end of the day, this is not a solo journey. This is me and you. It's our communities. It's all the leaders within our community. And anyone on this call at this length is one of us. Let's go. What are you here to do? Today's the day. This isn't a dress rehearsal. Let's go.
Oh, man. So much emotion. So much. You were on such a download in such a profound way. It just tugged and everything. I felt my entire vagal nerve lit up in that conversation. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. And to that effect, I have had the privilege of reading kind of some early nibblings of your book that's getting ready to launch. And to look at the table of contents alone, my husband and I have made a commitment So I already sent him the little preview that you shared with me. So he's at another medical conference right now, and he looked at him. We've made a commitment that we're going to read your book to each other every night before we go to bed.
No way.
That's our
bless
date
you.
night. You're going to be our date night every night
Wow.
with this, because I mean, it's what, over 700 pages. And the topics, like, what if you guys just grooved on what Brian just shared right here? This is going to be a book full of these. This is his magnum opus. Like this, here it comes, folks. And I cannot even begin to describe how excited I am for the release of this book. And so if you were sitting next to someone, a total stranger on an airplane, and someone's like, "Oh, you're a writer. What did you write?" How would you describe it to somebody that has never heard of you or has had the privilege to be in your presence as we've all been today? How would you describe what this book, Arete, is about?
That's such a good question. And before we go there, I need to just say, are you kidding me? What? That's amazing that you and your husband are going to be doing that. That means so much to me. Bless you. Over 1,000 pages. So yeah. So great question. So then, the book name is Arte, of course. So I would probably talk about what we talked about in terms of the ancient word in Greek meant excellence or virtue, but has a deeper meaning. And I didn't actually share the punchline in the story with Emerson. So the way that I explained it like I'm 10 is the name of that chapter. Explain it like I'm 10 is in any given moment. I'm drawing a line. If you can see, you can see. If you can't, I'm drawing a line, at my eye height. And in any given moment, you're capable of being this version of you, the best version of yourself. If there's a gap and there's a line that's like, 1.5 feet below that line, and who you are actually being isn't who you are capable of being, and there's a gap. It's in that gap in which regret, anxiety, disillusionment, depression exists in that moment. Now, if you close the gap and express the best version of yourself, you are living with Arte. And when you do that, there's literally no room, and I have goosebumps right now. There's no room for regret, anxiety, disillusionment in that moment. So the whole game of life is to close the gap, close the gap, close the gap. And the good news is you always know what you're capable of being. Now, you may or may not be that consistently, and no one will do it perfectly, but the whole book is that. So how do I give you different ideas and different ways to approach it such that you can more and more consistently, never perfectly, but more and more consistently express the best version of yourself? When you do that, you activate, as per the subtitle, your heroic potential, as we described heroic. And then there are 451 ideas in the book, each of which are a page or 2 or 3 long. And I picked 451 because that's the activation energy point at which one can create fire. So if you want to create fire, nothing happens at 100 degrees or 200 degrees or 300 degrees or 400 degrees or even 450 degrees. You must get to 451 degrees of heat in order to reach what's called an activation energy point where everything changes and you ignite a fire. So the idea is, can I get you to an activation point where you're a different human being? And then I had to decide what kind of book I was going to write. And I decided it wasn't going to be another 200 or 300 page fluffy, here you go book. I was going to do what the Navy SEALs call overloading. So briefly, Navy SEALs, when they're trained on how to detonate things underwater, they're taught how to do the math on how to create an explosive that will detonate something that's in the way of a ship landing. And we have, if you look at D-Day, and I tell this story in the book too, when Eisenhower led D-Day, an insane number of boats and men and women supported that invasion. But they couldn't have landed on the 5 beaches of Normandy if the early Navy SEALs hadn't, in the days preceding, swam underwater, tears in my eyes, goosebumps, in the darkness of night, and figured out how to explode the barriers that would have prevented the invasion that saved Western humanity and society. So we have them to thank for that. But the premise that they use is this: when they were in doubt about how much explosives they should use, they overload. Always. They put more on it than ever. And as I was deciding what the book should be, I read that book around the same time and I said, that's it. We're going to create a book that will blend Stephen Pressfield's pithy War of Art. Very easy to read micro chapters, in and out. My style is very, very, how do I get in and how do I get out in 1 or 2 or 3 pages? but combine the war of art with war and peace. So overload, 451 ideas. That's the book. And hopefully I'd be holding the book and I would give the copy to my new friend on the airplane. And we'd go from there.
Oh my gosh. Brian, you are delivering something to all of us that's going to help us metabolize so much new information in such a new way. I can't wait to see the impact of that. And so grateful for that. And where I'd like to leave this is, what would you say is a daily, you've asked me this question before, but what is one thing you would absolutely not miss out on every day? What is your non-negotiable, I think is how you like to put it, of how you keep yourself in that optimal, heroic state?
And now I want to introduce you to another one of our amazing sponsors, Hack Your Health by KetoCon, which is a conference that focuses on improving metabolic health through nutrition and lifestyle. The event features industry experts who share research and insights on a variety of topics, including low carb, ketogenic, and zero carb diets, along with stress reduction, sleep optimization, gut health, emotional health, and so much more. It is an immersive experience that includes keynote speakers, specialty panels, breakout sessions, and interactive activities like the red light therapies, cold plunge, natural movement classes, and sauna. And it is a transformative event that leaves attendees feeling inspired and motivated. Hack Your Health will take place May 31st through June 2nd, 2024 in Austin, Texas. And as a special treat for our listeners, they have given us a discount code that will give you $50 off of a 3-day general attendee or a 3-day VIP or a Sunday-only Expo Hall Pass. Just go to www.hackyourhealth.com and enter the discount code METABOLIC. That's METABOLIC. The code is active now and will remain active until May 1st, 2024. But don't delay. They always sell out, and you won't want to miss Hack Your Health by KetoCon. Visit hackyourhealth.com today. This episode is brought to you by Chemothermia Oncology Center. In the complex world of cancer treatment, it is crucial to choose a center that doesn't just aim to attack the tumor, but one that supports the patient integratively. At Chemothermia, the commitment is clear. Expand the paradigms of cancer treatments with the ultimate goal of creating a comprehensive treatment model, a model which supports you while not just focusing on the tumor. Chemothermia understands the fundamental role of cellular metabolism in health, an overlooked area that is attracting increasing attention across the medical spectrum. By focusing on cellular metabolism, they work to balance and support this crucial system against both the debilitations of cancer and its treatment, increasing the patient's resilience to both. Because every individual's metabolism is unique, Chemothermia believes in a personalized, integrative, and a metabolic approach to cancer treatment. Their commitment is to offer treatments tailored for each patient, ensuring the highest chance of success. Chemothermia Center, where the cancer journey is personalized, where you are supported, and where hope thrives. Learn more at chemothermia.com. That's chemothermia.com. This episode is brought to you by New Quadrant Foundation. When you're navigating the world of health and the world of finance, it's crucial to have trusted partners who understand the bigger picture. That's why I want to introduce you to one of our cherished sponsors, New Quadrant. Established in 2010 by one of our amazing Metabolic Terrain Institute of Health community members, Louise Stoughton, New Quadrant isn't just another financial entity. They're a leading fiduciary and family office service provider in the United Kingdom. With a heart for philanthropy and a unique focus on promoting wellness for professional women, and their mission is to guide their clients so they can turn aspirations into tangible charitable goals. But it doesn't end there. The New Quadrant Foundation, a beacon of philanthropic endeavors, was birthed from the very core values of New Quadrant. The foundation doesn't just house a part of the business profits, it radiates the essence of the entire team's charitable vision. As establishing UK-based charities evolved in complexity, New Quadrant Foundation serves as a guiding light for our supporters across the pond, directing funds to worthy causes and ensuring that your contribution can have the biggest impact possible. We at the Metabolic Terrain Institute of Health are humbled and deeply grateful to have been beneficiaries of the generosity from this UK-based charity for years. And for our United States listeners, if you've ever wondered about obtaining tax relief on your donations to a UK foundation, New Quadrant is your compass. With New Quadrant, your philanthropic journey is in caring, capable hands. To learn more, visit newquadrantpartners.com. That's NEWQUADRANTPARTNERS.com.
Yeah. At the risk of being both biased and perhaps immodest and self-serving, the app that we built. So the app that we built helps remind me of the things that I've decided are the most important. So literally, I have identities and virtues and targets in my energy, work, and love, in which I capture and we help people capture the top. Answer your question, which is you tell me what's the number one thing you do in energy, work, and love, and then to answer the question directly, it's I sleep. So I'm committed to being in bed for 9 to 10 hours a day. I did not hit it yesterday. I was in bed for 8 hours and 40. No, 2 days ago. But I've hit this target 527 out of the last 500 and maybe 50 days, 40 days. So that's my number one non-negotiable is sleep. Of course, I follow a certain nutrition protocol. I move my body. I train my breath. I spend time, with my kids and loved ones. I shut off my electronics before bed. All the obvious things that many of which you have affirmed or introduced into my life through the work that we did together. But again, for me, it's consistency. It's showing up and doing these things, not once in a while or when we feel like it, but especially when we don't feel like it. And the one thing we didn't talk about with the kids that I want to briefly highlight is we've taught our kids to make the connection. So eating well and moving their bodies and sleeping isn't a chore, it's a gift. And it's a really important distinction that another one of my favorite teachers, Michelle Seeger, who I talk a lot about in the book, she's done research on healthy behavior change. And most people think of these things as chores. No one wants to do chores. But you need to see them, I think, and I personally practice each choice we make to eat a certain way, to not eat a certain way, to move our bodies and to sleep and do all these other things. Those are gifts our current self is giving to our future self of a minute, 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days, 10 years in the future. And so I'm proud of helping our community see that and our kids see that. They're not gifts for them. Now, of course, they complain, they're 10-year-old and 6-year-old, but not most of the time. They're proud to be different. They know that it is no measure of well-being to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society, as Krishnamurti says. It is no measure of health to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Why would I want my kids to be normal in a society where normal is anxious, depressed, unhealthy, suffering from a chronic? That makes no sense. None. Therefore, we're raising iconoclasts. We're raising little heroes that are proud to be leaders and to do the right thing. But we've made the connection where they feel better when they do these things. And again, with my son's chess, and I talk about it a lot in the book, it's the perfect context because he performs better when he moves. Right before we go, we have a workout protocol. Right before he goes in, he moves his body, and he knows he performs better when he does that. That's exhilarating to use our kids' passions for applying these practices, but unapologetically, iconoclastically, powerfully. I think that's really important that we're proud of who we are, me and you and our communities. And we're going out and we're doing what leaders do, which is not conforming, but importantly, being cool about it, and figuring out how to socially, intelligently communicate this to those who may not otherwise be open to it without being that guy or that gal, which is easier said than done. But anyway, long answer to your short question again. Sleep would be the one word answer.
I love your riffs. You don't have to ever rein them in here. And one thing I just want to leave a note of, I'm so grateful for you being a small intestine in my life of information. I'm so grateful for you being my hero and to inspire me to step up in my higher self, in all of my optimal, like to meet that line, stop that gap, break that gap, and to not lose the faith that we are not alone in our efforts to leave the world better than we found it. And I'm just incredibly grateful for you and your community, and I can't wait to see what magic we create together.
Amen. And bless you. And right back. You truly are one of my heroes. And I'm just so proud of you and honored to be part of your life and excited to continue to do everything I can to amplify your wisdom And heroes unite. I can't wait for our communities to get to know one another better. And life is good. Lots of work to do, but feel so blessed to do it with you.
Thank you, Brian.
Bless you, Nasha.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Metabolic Matters. We hope you found today's conversation insightful and empowering. As we wrap up today's episode, we want to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible team and supporters who make this podcast possible. First, we'd like to thank our production team, Alex Sanchez, Cindy Kennedy, Jessica Gilman, and Lynn Hughes, for their hard work behind the scenes. Our theme song was written by Julie Newmark and performed by Whiskey Flower. And finally, we want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in and being a part of the Metabolic Matters community. Do you want to learn more? Please visit our website, metabolicmatters.org, and you can follow us on Instagram. If you liked this episode, please leave us a review and share it with your friends and family. And if you want to help support our mission, spreading awareness and knowledge about metabolic health, reach out. We'd love you to join with us. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on upcoming episodes. We have so much exciting content coming your way. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and remember, your metabolic health matters.